It seems like I'm just filming. Okay. Yeah. I'm just talking about the fucking theater. That's what I always talk about. Does that look like a mirror? Or does it look like a camera? Maybe it shouldn't look like a mirror. Maybe that's silly. Maybe it's weird that I'm in a chair right now. Maybe it's weird if I move. It's so scary whenever I do that. I don't like the way it looks. Anyway, I look so overdone. Anyway, life is theater in every definition. Feeling that right now. Strongly. I might be putting out a resume in a second, so why the fuck am I putting on makeup? Maybe I should just put on subtle makeup. Maybe that's all I should put on. Because I actually might be putting out a resume. I actually might be. Maybe that's all I can put on before I start looking too. It's not professional. I'm supposed to put out a resume. What time is it? Just for now. I look like a little. Yeah, sometimes I look a bit too simplistic. How come it's not turning on? It's not turning on. It's kind of supposed to turn on. It is working. Okay, I just didn't click it properly. Anyway, is it hypervigilance for me to have this on there? Maybe this is ridiculous. I don't really like the setup because I'm just sitting, but I sit, so I have to sit. I can put it down a bit. There we go. Anyway, I'll be sitting a lot. I sit a lot. I sit in a chair. Sit in a chair all day. Am I supposed to romanticize sitting in a chair all day? Oh, I do. Maybe that's like really fucked up. Sometimes I question that. I have like chronic fatigue. So I'm like, well, maybe that's just how I'm supposed to operate. I have information. I can sit in a chair and talk. But it's like, it's kind of depressing because I sit in a chair all day. At least I'm not in bed. I used to like bed rot, I believe. I want to make this very clear. I'm not trying to. It has to be what it means for you. But either way though, when it comes to chronic fatigue, you know how sometimes resting or being lazy actually makes you more tired, and working actually wakes you up. It has to be something that you're passionate about. You can't just like get yourself out of bed through thought. It has to be through feeling. It has to be through like genuine inspiration. So let's say you get like an easy meal and you're like a reel. You cook that. You don't tell yourself what to cook. You make the thing on the reel that randomly inspired you. That's the only way to get out of like chronic fatigue or chronic depression. You can't really get yourself to do things to go, oh, logically it makes sense. That doesn't mean you have motivation. Anyway. So that's kind of why there's a few things I do because I know genuine motivation. So that's why I don't bed rot, because with like chronic fatigue or chronic depression, because it actually makes you worse. But with that said, sometimes you have to lay down. But I'm not going to say I don't do that anymore. Not even slightly. Showering and getting myself up in the morning makes me feel better. So making my bed is 50-50. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. Anyway. So basically, I sit in a chair though. Yeah, I'm not in bed, but I sit in a chair like all day. It's very just, I don't know. It's kind of like, do I have a problem? Maybe I don't have a problem. Well, it's still chronic depression, I guess. I do get things done, but I'm very just everywhere. I think my reward system's everywhere, and I think the only way to rebuild the reward system is to have small achievements. This is where you get like someone who just films a reel instead of a YouTube video. Even if you edit it, the act of editing and putting in effort makes you actually less tired. It sounds exhausting, or putting in effort, but it's like, no, those little edits of like, oh, I just want to do this just through the moment, especially if it's in the moment. Oh, I feel the desire to just cut this bit out, like it's intuitive. This is genuine motivation, and this is what rebuilds the reward system. So if you're like a lazy person, work on very small things that are almost like intuitively little nudges, almost like obsessively, like, oh, I just want to clean up the edges just for the fun of it. So like the difference between telling yourself to paint something properly versus realizing that painting something's oddly satisfying. When something's oddly satisfying, it actually gratifies your mind, and then it gratifies your reward system. So like, for instance, finishing every little corner, it's satisfying. It's not just, oh, I'm doing it properly. That's a standard, that's an expectation. It's not about that. It's just because it's satisfying to get to every corner and be obsessive with every single little detail. Or to just do the bits you need and then leave the rest, like almost like a simplistic energy of like less is more. I'm only going to paint what's necessary and leave the rest. That's not laziness, that's simplicity. So whether you're someone who's obsessive with details or whether you're someone who's simplistic with what's just necessary, neither of these are lazy. Both of these, or productive. Not lazy or productive. Both of those words are just not helpful for the brain's reward system. That's not what life's about. It's just about kind of like seeing how things play out, the beginning, the middle, and the ending. This does something for the reward system in the mind. And it has to be something really simple. So we get arts and crafts. It doesn't have to be that you're an artist or anything. Because I say, even if you are an artist, sometimes calling yourself an artist can turn into an expectation. And then that becomes weird. You forget that like it's just human behavior. You don't have to call it artwork, it's just it can turn into something interesting if it does. But if it doesn't, it doesn't need to. It's already gratifying and interesting as it is in simplistic or simple or like cute. It doesn't need to be complicated. That's a weird standard to like compare things together and go, oh, this is what makes something good. No, all of this is like egos and stuff. And this is the reason why I'm bringing this up, not just because of what it means, I mean specifically for people who have chronic depression or chronic fatigue. We're exhausted through the expectation. We're not actually exhausted by doing things. Even if you're depressed, it's not about doing things. It's about what it means. So people go like, oh, just like firstly, even cleaning your bed in the morning, it's got to do with what you think about while you're cleaning your bed. It's not about, oh, I'm just cleaning my bed. It's I'm pondering and I'm doing things like moving things around, cleaning beds, and living. That's what that means. Let's say you're doing something like making an art piece. It's not about the reward of, oh, I've finished something and it looks really good. It's got to do with what it means, or like what you see in it. Or let's say it's depressing. This is what gratifies the mind. So if you're depressed, I mean, it doesn't have to be that you paint something depressing, but hear me out. You can see why that's going to be more gratifying for a depressed person to do something depressing. Or if they go, no, that encourages me too much to indulge. Instead, it's about the fantasy of being healthy. They might really enjoy doing escapism. They might be more motivated that way. And you kind of just follow your inspiration. Don't start deciding, oh, I'm this kind of person. No, that will exhaust you. Instead, you just kind of let it change. You will just find what you're actually motivated by. Anyway, and it doesn't have to be artwork. I'm just using that as an example because I'm thinking of just like things that should be like kind of simple. Even cooking, it should be the easy, real. It shouldn't be a recipe that you have to read. If I have to read, I'm not going to cook. But if it's a little picture, then I don't mind just looking at the few ingredients on there and then seeing what I can make close enough. That is way more realistic with what reality is like. Being realistic doesn't have to be a toning down. It just means that you're experiencing all the good stuff. It's annoying if there's an expectation. And if you're depressed, you can't even handle it anyway. I fall asleep. I literally will fall asleep. Or I just won't get out of bed. Or I will dissociate and stare at a wall for 20 minutes. So it's like, do I waste 20 minutes dissociating from an expectation? Or do I just not give myself one in the first place? So yeah, that's what happens with dissociation. It's like, I can't even afford to tell myself what to do. Because guess what? I'm not going to do it. And not only that, I'm going to stare at a wall. I will just find myself staring. And I'm like, yeah, because like my reward system is literally dissociating from those expectations. It dissociates. It goes, I can't even handle the idea of an expectation. The irony is that I can still complete things, but it has to be genuine, completely genuine. It can't be something that it's motivated, oh, I want to do this. I want to be this kind of person. Even if I want to be, it has to be that I'm delving into identity, which is kind of a discovery of, even if I think I'm a certain way, it always changes a little bit. That's the actual inspiration, the genuine inspiration. Things turning out differently. I paint something a certain color and then I realize that it looks better if it's painted differently, and then I end up with like a new favorite color. That's the only way for me to exist and make things and achieve things. Anyway. And of course, if it's something really boring, I get the weird gratification of enjoying boring stuff. So like, let's say I'm literally just printing out something like informative papers. I'll admit it, I'm very lazy when it comes to information paper appointments. It's almost like I completely rely on whoever's making the appointment to do stuff for me. I don't really do anything, and the whole time I'm like, I can't stay still. I can't read the paper or anything. But I still do sit there. It's just that I put in a lot of make them kind of do it thing. I'm a bit lazy or even childish. Like I'm like, you do it. But I still can do it though. Because the parts that I actually have to do, there's like a simplicity to it being like, oh, you can't do that for me, so I'm actually going to have to do that part. So for instance, showing up to the appointment, that's on me because there ain't no one else going to be able to walk me around. That's my legs. You know what I mean? So I end up gratified through the idea of walking or what I think about while I walk. Appointments isn't the appointment. It's got to do with everything else in your life. The appointment's just like where you ponder, take a little break, and then you go back to your life. So, and if you've got appointments and your life is empty, which is what I've got at the moment, you can see why that's depression. It's almost like there's no life. 111. I haven't got an angel number in a bit. Okay, I can't be lying. I do get angel numbers still. Yesterday I got like literally, like, every time I look at the clock, I saw 222. But either way, 111, I haven't gotten that in a while. I've just got nostalgia then. I don't even care if that sounds stupid. I get nostalgia over that. When I had a lot of hope in me, I saw 111. It was like my number. Also, it's 1221. I see 1212 now, but I used to see 1221. Also 2112. Yeah, that as well. Anyway. Yeah, I see 222, 1212 now, but I just saw 111 anyway. I still like the numbers. Call me, no, I'm just kidding. I think people believe in that stuff now. We keep telling that joke. Oh, I'm crazy. That joke is kind of old. People kind of believe in that stuff now. And if they don't, it depends on, like, how you are about it. That's the joke now. Not so much whether it's real, it's more about how someone's going about it. How delusional. Anyway. Which I love that, anyway. That everyone's on the same page with that. It's great. We're not on the same... Everyone's disagreeing with each other, should I say. I don't know why I said same page. Anyway, I'm very sleepy. I rely on coffee to keep myself awake. I need medication, lol. Coffee ain't gonna fucking do it. It works. But, I'm not just, a coffee drinker. I have, like, chronic fatigue. I need medication, but I'm coffee it is. I'm feeling kind of strange lately. I could say that with any mood. I've been feeling strange lately. Well, how vague? Please say what you mean. Yeah, I literally need to be in, like, the hypnotism of a abstraction in order to even focus. If I see things too clearly, like, I'm even talking visually, if something's been painted too blank, I see reality too clearly. Hear me out. Sometimes it's about the fact that something is clear and separate. Like, even people with OCD would get that. Where it's like a really clean shelf. It's almost like a little haven. It can be nice. But even then, I still prefer the wood grains, the details. Like, wood grains, even on a blank wall, there is still patchiness. And of course, if it's been painted textured, there's even more patchiness. I need to see those abstractions. Otherwise, then I actually start to see things clearer. I don't know how to describe it. It's like the same as, like, an expectation. It's like I'm too aware. And then it turns into, like, an expectation. It's really weird. I'll make it very clear. This depends, because sometimes seeing things clearer can be... It can mean what, like, it means. Oh my god, it's so annoying. Because sensory-wise, when things are separate, you can feel reality more. Oh, let me just talk about this, because I find this interesting. Did you know, sensory-wise, it's not just literally physically touching things. It's also the mind. This is a big part of the, like, feminine energy. You can literally be gratified physically through the mind. So, like, for instance, let's say you're looking at a cupboard and it's been painted messy. You can, like, feel the paint strokes. But let's say, though, it's been painted really neatly. It's almost like the paint strokes are really clean. And you can, like, feel it. And depending on what sensations you prefer, that's, like, your taste preference. Which is why I guess sometimes people's taste preference can be kind of personal, because it's almost like, without people know, whether they know, they're like, so for me, I got the autistic thing, so I knew that it's like, oh no, I feel these things physically, so I don't like talking about it. But some people, though, it's almost intuitive, like, it's just like, I don't want to tell you, for some reason, it makes me uncomfortable if I tell you my favorite color, and then, I don't know, they run away. So, like, but what it is like, yeah, it can be kind of personal, your personal taste. And it's also nice, actually, to express it. Feels really good when people know your personal taste, even if it's, like, personal. It's, like, about the fact that you're showing people. If there's something that doesn't feel like it shows who I am, I feel, like, disgusting, because it doesn't really show. If it's being associated with me, it makes me uncomfortable. I only want to be associated with the actual sensory things that I enjoy, even colors. the sensories that I enjoy. I want to be associated with that. If I get associated with a color that I don't like, it literally gives me sensory issues socially. Like I get like social sensory issues. So like someone will talk and I'm like, oh no, like I feel disgusting and weird. But again, you can say it without saying it. Just things like me painting a cupboard a different color, me taking a picture of myself in a different outfit, me, or even if I can be disconnected from my environment. But either way, though, if I like brick walls, taking a picture in front of a brick wall makes me feel good. If it's like too modern, too just not my taste, whatever your taste is. But for me, I just don't like things that are too clean. It gives me sensory issues. I don't want to be taken with a picture in front of that, unless it's like about the fact that I look separate. But if I look like as if it's my aesthetic and it kind of matches my clothes or something, that makes me so uncomfortable. Or like it can only gratify me the way I want to be gratified, because I can only feel it physically, socially, the things that people say to me. Also, if I'm cleaning a cupboard, I feel it on myself. Even if it's like me chipping it with a knife, you know how something can be oddly satisfying? I know that sounds fucked up, but hear me out. If it's wooden, it's not actually bad because you're scraping it and it's satisfying. But with that said, I feel it. But it's like it's nice scrape. I know that might make no sense, but like hear me out. It's like a nice scrape. Even if I'm holding a knife, it's like nice. If it's not nice, then this is like when I'm in hypervigilance. If I'm cutting up an onion and it feels like I'm like cutting into myself, this is fucked up. This can happen sometimes if I'm not doing well. I can get into that, but right now, that's not really what I'm talking about. I could talk about that, but to be honest, I'm actually out of this issue, so I don't have this problem. I actually just only feel nice stuff now. But if I don't identify with it, or if it's something that I just don't want to cut up, I literally start feeling weird. I start getting the whole feeling gross. I feel like I'm being cut into, it's gross. Or I feel just like embarrassed and weird. So yeah, it's like, even like if something's unfinished, because not that everything has to be perfect. Some people are on this, like people who really resonate with the sensory of like clean, they would probably hate like an unfinished edge because they would physically feel like an unfinished edge on them and it would feel disgusting. But for me, I like messiness. So to me, an unfinished edge looks like freedom. So I go, oh no, that gives me sensory seeking. If something's too clean, it feels like an expectation, and then that gives me sensory issues. So it starts being like, it's just got to do with what you want to be associated with. And if it's not for you, then it's like about the fact that you're separate from it and you're experiencing someone else's sensory. Oh my god, this laptop doesn't shut up. If it's on the cold floorboards, it will probably cool down. Anyway, like even clothes I wear, if I get associated socially with something because of the clothes I was wearing, I end up with sensory issues. And it like messes me up real bad. Luckily I can just wear something else, but like, I'm just saying, I'm telling you like what I've experienced. I try to not make these mistakes anymore. Like even me wearing a black shirt right now, I mean black luckily is quite neutral, but like still, it's not enough. I'm not like enough in my energy, and people want it to be that I'm just being picky with clothing and fashion. And I'm like, well, actually, I am, because I like fashion and I like house decor. But it's not even about that. It's about me being grounded in reality. If I'm getting sensory issues, I'm not grounded in reality, and I start having dissociation, and then it makes my chronic fatigue worse. I start being kind of like, oh, I just need to get out. Or all of a sudden, I have just an obsession with like getting out of my room, getting out, and leaving everything. And everything turns into tunnel vision. I guess this is more now about depersonalization. I end up with like depersonalization. I have to keep escaping things, or I need to keep dissociating. Derealization as well. Mostly depersonalization, but sometimes I have derealization. They're connected, I guess. But with that said, I don't mind the derealization, so again, hear me out. This depends on how you feel about it, but for me, I like the derealization. Even the depersonalization, sometimes I'm like, give me that tunnel vision. Like, I don't know. I kind of like it. I think I actually really like it, actually. I think I'm obsessed with the inner world and then being traumatized enough for me to be stuck inside my own head just as long as I can still express myself. I'm admitting to things. Anyway, Anyway, but another one would be like bed sheets. I mean that one's obvious, but like hear me out. It's not just about that, because yes, in bed and it's cozy. That's what we were all thinking, cozy. Anyway, it means like what it means. I literally am not grounded in reality, especially because sleeping is vulnerable. If I'm not grounded, then I can't even really feel that I'm sleeping, and then I don't really sleep, and then I end up with like insomnia. It's like I'm not insomnia. I'm just not grounded in reality, and I can't fucking sleep because I feel like I'm like falling or something, and it doesn't make sense. I feel dizzy when I lay down. But if I'm like connected with the fabrics, I just got new sheets or whatever. With that said, I've got some really cheap ones, and I don't like the cheap ones. They instant regret. They're too thin, and I can't feel them. They feel like there's no sensory. There's no like crinkle or nothing. They don't crinkle. But either way though, I'm already more grounded in reality from the new sheets I got. I'm just like, people want it to be that I'm wasting money. I'm trying to ground myself because I'm not even like here mentally. Like you could call me schizophrenic. I don't know. I need sensory to be conscious. Um, Even wearing an outfit I don't like. Again, it's not just physically. It's also about the way it pleases the mind. I get sensory issues if it doesn't please my mind. If I'm pleasing the wrong parts of my ego, because like what sharpens you or what curves you, it defines parts of your like mind. Yes, it can also define the soul, like it can be nature, but a lot of the time it's actually about the mind, especially modern clothes. So if it doesn't gratify my mind, I literally am dissociated and I'm not aware. I don't want to be looked at, and I start having these weird tunnel visions where I stare off and be like, oh, it's fine. I'm like staring off and stuff. And it's like, if wearing a different t-shirt grounds me, well, then I'm going to buy another t-shirt. And then I'm going to get rid of the one I had, even if it's a totally fine shirt. What's wrong with it? It's like, well, I just don't like it. Anyway, and I'm aware, by the way, that some people just have these preferences and they don't let it get this bad. But for me, I've let it get this bad that I know the reason why. If you get what I'm trying to say. You don't actually have to know why. You can just be like, oh, I just prefer this, and you can kind of just sell things, if you listen to yourself. But if you're someone, though, who doesn't listen to yourself, over time, you start to realize what it means to not listen to yourself. This is what I have right now. The irony is that if I was just listening to myself, I wouldn't really need to know why. I probably would have just been in sensory seeking without even realizing. But now that I know why, because of being dissociated, or like because of being depressed, I know why. And this is like a thing. Sometimes it's like good, by the way, to not, the whole like ignorance is bliss. You don't always need to know why. Like ignorance is bliss. You don't always need to know why. But if you're someone who does know why, this is where you get someone who like tells people, because it's like, well, you don't need to go through what I'm going through, but because I've gone through it, I can tell you what it is. The irony is that you don't necessarily need to know in so much detail why to listen to you. You should just listen to yourself. You should trust. That's enough trust there, right there. But it's like, but if you don't have trust though, let me tell you why, because I know why. So yeah, I've let it get this bad that I know why. But you don't need to let your problems get so fucking bad that you end up knowing why. You do not need to do that. Fix your problems before you know why. I didn't. Anyway, but either way. Anyway, so, but I know why, so let me tell you. But anyway, so yeah, it has to gratify the mind, because you feel it physically. Another one would be like, again, even like something being too clear is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. I like things being clean and neat, especially if it's an object. I usually like things to be like well kept. But when it comes to like things being painted, even a cupboard, it needs to either be shiny so that there's things always reflecting on it, so there's always these abstractions, or it has to be like a messy, patchy wall so that there's abstractions in the clouds of like those patchiness. If something is clean, I mean, it has the appeal, by the way, the modern appeal of like seeing a color without any sort of patchiness, like just seeing just the neatness of one color. It's very gratifying. It almost feels like you're looking at like something floating in the air. You know, when something's so clean that it kind of looks like it's floating. So like someone paints a wall so neatly that the shelf that's like what's next to it now, it looks like it's almost floating. So that's pretty cool that the modern world does. It's like, so for instance, the light in the middle of your room, I think they call it the headlight. Not that anyone uses headlights these days. Most people put in mood lights. But either way, though, the headlight that you never use, it looks like it's floating in the air because the room is so clean. And I think that's the appeal of modern houses. Also, just because it's easier to paint a wall very plainly. But it ends up gratifying a different part of the mind. It gratifies the mind of like separate and things looking like they're floating. And looks very simplistic. I'm like, I like simplistic, but then if something's too simplistic, I start to see things clearer. I'm like, I'm not always supposed to know because I'm supposed to be in discovery. If I start to know things, it just gives me expectations. And it's the things I already know. But like if I see it all the time, it's almost like I'm always looking at what I know. And like I'm kind of supposed to be in the abstraction of discovery so that each day shines differently. I mean, the weather's always different. But indoors, sometimes things can look a little too similar, even if you've got the windows open. I want things to always shine differently, so that's why things have to look kind of patchy. But it also can't be anything too new, otherwise then I don't know. I mean, hear me out, I think I like newness. Yeah, I do. Okay, so things have to be patchy, things have to be messy. Almost like as if, like, you know when you look at something and every single time, it's like you rediscover something new because there's always something to stare at. That's what I get from patchy walls. It's like, even if I'm just sitting in a chair, let's say I'm just tired, my pondering thoughts are really just, they're always, it's almost like my brain kind of trails along all like the messy little bits. I don't get that from a neat wall. Anyway. Like I need something to kind of just ponder on. Otherwise then I'm too conscious. Just serves a different purpose. Anyway. How do I describe this? I do like, by the way, to see things clearer. If something's too messy, I start to not be able to see things for what they are. So, for instance, I had this box and I didn't even realize it looked kind of ocean until my room was clean. And I was like, oh my god, it looks like an ocean. Because it's got like the little like latch on it. I'm like, it looks like ocean. I'm like, I never looked at it like that. I just looked at it as a box. I didn't even notice that it had like an aesthetic, a feeling, an energy on it. So I also lack energy if things are too messy. So it has to be like messy in behavior. It's like human behavior. There's a nature that I like that. But if something's too messy, it's neglected, it's been left. This is like the discarded bits of human behavior. This is too messy. I like things to have a movement or like a stillness of what's been left by a person, but not like too left. Then it looks kind of like discarded instead of still. You have to have movement or stillness. But I prefer movement. I didn't really notice that it was movement, by the way, until I saw a really, really cleanly done room. And I'm like, there's like this stillness to a really clean room that I've never noticed because I've always had a bit of a messy room. There's like this movement to messy rooms. And I never would have described it that way. I would have been like, oh, messy rooms are like still in the fact that everything's in like little corners. And it's cozy. But it's like, oh no, it's like a movement, kind of like trees. They're still, but there's a movement. That's what a messy room's like. A neat room is like really still. And I just had never experienced such a stillness within the context of like me. Obviously I'd been in clean rooms before, but it'd never been my room that was clean. And I was like, yeah, I haven't experienced it in the context of me. And I'm like, I don't like to be that still. With that said, you can see haunted things better. Lol. You know on the wall? Okay, now we're getting real weird. Let me tell you about how the wolves talk. We're getting real weird now. This is like spiritual stuff. Anyway, it's energy. You don't actually hear the wall talk. If you do, I believe that I don't think it's the wall. I would say that that's still some sort of message. But if the wall like says something without words, but it says something, that is the energy. You know when a wall just kind of looks at you? Not with eyes. If you're seeing eyes, you're crazy, right? Or like that's a spirit or something. I know. I'm talking about when like the wall is just kind of like denser, or it's really, really, really. It's almost like it's an excitement. A lot of time I see excitement in walls, and that's usually when I know that something's about to happen. I don't even know how to describe it. I see it in the wall, and I go, usually, especially before a concert, almost always the waiting room, or like more specifically, some sort of nice little, some sort of like maybe like pre-drinks at like something kind of cozy. I'm gonna say a pub or someone's house. The coziness of like how it's been decorated. A lot of the time, even though it's been decorated by objects, the wall is excited for me to go to a concert. I'm not even fucking joking. It happens all the time in those situations. The wall is like excited. Or when like I'm like, oh, I don't know whether I should go or not. All of a sudden the wall just goes like, I'm like, oh, so I should go, and then I say yes. And times where I've had the walls be annoyed at me, this is usually after someone else has had an argument, and there's someone I know personally, or it's me and my frustration. But a lot of time though, I don't see it in the wall. When it's my frustration, my nervous system just goes, I get all like hyper vigilant. Anyway, but when it comes to someone else's anger, a lot of time I see someone else's anger in my room, in my own bedroom. Doesn't matter who it is, it's in my bedroom for some reason. And I'm like, yep, they're annoyed at someone. Someone has just paid them out or not listened to them. And that's how I knew as a teenager, like, who was arguing with who, because the wall would tell me. And I'm like, this is so stupid. Because I'm not kidding when I say I didn't like negative energy. Even if it gave me messages, I was like, I'm not a good person. Stop telling me what's going on, because I can't do anything. As a teenager, I was like, well, there's nothing I can do. So I was like, oh, look, the wall told me that everything's terrible. Well, I can't do anything about it. So I took it for granted back then because I didn't know what to do with it. But now it just means what it fucking means now, I guess. But usually though I see excitement. And if I don't see excitement, this is the big part of the message. If I don't see excitement, if I don't see anything bad and I don't see anything good. So for instance, the wall isn't talking. This is like a sign that I have not been living enough. Like if I ain't fucking doing anything, the walls don't talk. They don't talk. Or they really try and egg me on. And get back to that excitement feeling. They egg me on to get out the house. It's almost like, yeah, it's haunted. It's almost like they're like, do something fun. Like, look, the walls tell me. The fucking wall will be like staring at me. At least sometimes, I want to make this very clear, this is definitely a thing, by the way, like a phenomenon. Because I've seen movies show this. Firstly, fantasy movies, definitely in fairy tale. I don't know, the cup and the spoon will poke the main character, like, go have fun. It's always something exciting, usually. When the main character's like, oh, I can't do that, and then all of a sudden the random guy holding a spoon, like the little sugar, it will be like, they won't say it, but they'll be like poking you, like, you must do it. Or the house cat goes meow, because the cat will say it. Or the dog starts running around in circles. So that's how things that don't speak in words can say stuff. Obviously in fantasy movies it can straight up be a object, but it's not even just fantasy movies, even movies that are like just like movies that show, so nothing fantasy, just like realistic movies in reality, they will still show weird stuff, like something falling onto the ground at the right time. I'm like, yeah, because objects and things in our houses will tell us stuff. It's only if your room's too messy, too stagnant, you won't get any of this. Or the opposite, even movies, again, back to movies, they will, you know, like a messy room, something falls over, or the messy room, the wall just kind of slightly moves. It doesn't actually move, but like it feels like it's moving. I see this in movies all the time. They show what the walls are saying. They actually show it. I don't even know how to describe it. It's almost like the cameraman knows these things or something. I don't know. Or maybe the person editing the movie knows that you just keep that scene in because it shows what the wall says. It's really weird. And maybe there's a name for this phenomenon. I don't know what it is, and obviously spiritually I guess I could call it energy or hauntings. But yeah, it's just straight up. It just fucking tells you. I don't even know how to describe it. And usually it's an egging you on. It's almost like the wall is almost frustrated, either excited or frustrated. So it's usually angry or it's excited. It's always that kind of energy. Whether it's angry or excited. It's this. Like, do something. That's what the wall sometimes says. Or even sometimes statues have that, like, you know, sometimes it's like calming and other times it's annoyed at you. When it's annoyed at you, that's when you're supposed to be fucking doing something. Anyway, I don't know, have you ever like closed a book and it fucking drops to the ground or something and you're like, I didn't even do that. It means the book is like telling you you're supposed to be fucking doing something. And the book will like close randomly and be annoyed at you. Or excited, it closes because it's like excited and wants you to get you to do something. So yeah, I've seen anger and excitement. That's all I've really seen in furniture. I haven't really seen any other emotions. Other than, I don't know, it's a wall, it doesn't really say much, and then maybe you could call that boredom or neutrality. I don't know. I see nothing sometimes, I don't know. But anyway, so I either see excitement or anger. And they're always trying to tell me to do something. That's the only time I've had furniture talk to me. I've seen loneliness in lampshades. I've seen loneliness in cupboards and loneliness on walls. But yeah, I've seen loneliness. No, you can't. You kind of can see every emotion. My favorite though is when they're excited. But like, you kind of can see any emotion within your surroundings. Not as simple as just, oh, because I'm lonely and then now the lampshade is. No, it's not that simple. But it's more like it reflects what it means for you to be lonely. So for instance, if your room's too messy, it will reflect it in the way that you're not doing anything about it. But if it's clean, it will reflect it in the way of you have a chance to do something about it. That's kind of why things like having a clean room is so important, because you literally can see this, it reflects the symbolism way better. So when I used to see loneliness in a lampshade, I saw it as like a hopelessness when my room was messy. And also I was just a very different person back then. I wasn't doing nothing with my problems. I just accepted that, not in a good way, just left things as they were. But when I started to change things, to clean my room, I still saw loneliness in my lampshade, almost like I needed to sage the room. I didn't know how to sage rooms though. It's literally just sage, but anyway. So I didn't know how to sage the room, but either way though, I already noticed that there was a clearness to it. Still saw loneliness in the lampshade, but it was like it was telling me that I could do something about it. It was like almost like a hopeful energy. Instead of hopeless, it was hopeful. Again, there's a very thin line between hopeless and hopeful. It's very like just this. But either way though, it's enough for it to reflect it differently. And if it's hopeful instead of hopeless, you're seeing things better. And here's where it gets even more confusing. Back to the whole, you don't always have to be aware. I'm obviously telling you because I'm spiritual. But hear me out. You don't even really need to know these things. You might be shocked at how many of these things happen subconsciously. I'm obviously doing it consciously. I'm consciously aware of what I'm looking at. But did you know that if you're just someone who kind of listens to yourself, you naturally clean your room, you already kind of know your habits. If something gets a bit old, you don't mind buying a new one. Like, you let yourself, like, live and exist. You don't start going, oh whatever, I'll just keep it because, it's fine. No, that's it. Stop. You'll end up having to be as conscious as I am. Like, stop. Instead, let yourself figure things out. Let yourself, like, actually buy new things. Subconsciously, without even realizing, you will have positive energy in what you're looking at without even knowing. I will obviously, if I walked into your house, I'll be like, oh, I can actually see the positive energy. I'll be like, oh, that's actually abundance energy because I know these things. But what can I say? You don't even need to know these things spiritually. You just need to be someone who respects yourself, and then it naturally reflects better energy, better metaphors in your subconscious. So for instance, like if you sleep in a bed and this bed is set up exactly the way that you like a bed to be set up, this does something to your subconscious mind when you go to sleep. I would know what it is. I could even tell you because I'm in the inner mind. Anyone who likes to delve into their mind, whether you just do that sitting in the sun or whether you do it in bed or whether you sit in a chair. But either way though, you know what I'm talking about. Or walking around the house just listening to your thoughts. But for me, and when I'm in bed though, this is when it's like the most. Or sitting in the sun, what actually I would say is the most. But anyway, sitting in bed. Sleeping in bed, usually first thing in the morning. Anyway, I'm not gonna. Anyway, basically, I'm aware, and anyone who does this will also be aware. But I'm not gonna say you don't even need to be aware of which pillow it is that's making you have positive thoughts. With that said, you can actually see it trace over your brain, like trace over the objects in your bedroom, almost like gratifyingly. Whether it's gratifying, like oh I put this here and it's symmetrical, or whether it's interesting, like oh I find this part fun, whether it's like gratifying, whether it's fun, or whether it's sensory, your brain traces over your objects in your room. So if there's positive objects, you've set things up to be the way that you like it set up, you've set up the bed nicely, this means that you are, without even knowing, you're naturally giving yourself really positive thoughts. or not so much positive thoughts, it's not about just necessarily being happy, but it's about the fact that you will have clearer thoughts. You'll just be like a clearer person. Like if you have a problem, you're more likely to fix it because you will notice. People who don't notice things, leave things on for too long, become lazy, or don't even know what their problem is, unconscious, they kind of end up like me, so stagnant to the point where they either become overly aware and become spiritual, or they just end up unconscious and go, life sucks. So that's kind of why I'm like, you don't even really need to know. You just let yourself fucking clean your own. You need to be clear-minded. You don't necessarily need to be heaps positive, but you need to be clear-minded. Anyway. Yeah, so I'm cleaning out a lot of things, but the irony is that if it's too clean, I need those abstractions. But I'm definitely cleaning. I'm just cleaning. I'm making things easier. I'm making things just... I need to be within my own human behavior. Like, sometimes if someone does something for me, I can't even... Like, back to the sensory issues thing. If someone else does something for me, their brain and their mind and what gratifies their mind is so different from me that it actually ends up causing, like, panic attacks. Again, call me dramatic, but, like, it's like that. If it's obviously about the fact that I'm experiencing someone else's taste, I don't mind this. I love it when, like a pillow or like something like expensive, I don't know, not even expensive, just like something, like I'm buying from like an Etsy store and like someone has their aesthetic. I like to experience someone else's sensory, but like experience, but like it has to be because I'm experiencing that. If it's something that's too personal, like it's my own bed or something, it starts being like, I can't have someone else's abstractions. If they, like, I don't know, buy something for me, actually it's probably fine if someone buys something for me, but like, hear me out, like sometimes someone does something for me, like cleans something for me or paints a chair. Every time I sit in that chair, I'm like sitting within their abstractions, and I'm like, I mean, sometimes I want to, if I don't know, let's say it's an antique chair, there will obviously be ancient thoughts on it. Well, not ancient, but like old-fashioned thoughts. And I like that. I like sitting in a chair that has like someone's energy that I don't know, like almost haunted. But if it's someone I know personally, it starts becoming too weird. I'm like, you can't be giving me a chair because guess what? I'll be able to read your thoughts. And that will just be awkward. Like, it starts being like, it's just weird. And they don't get it. They go, oh, well, it's fine. I'm like, no. Like I said, it would be weird. Like, oh, no, it's fine. I'm like, no, let me repeat myself. I'm uncomfortable. And they never listen. They would go, oh, no, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine. I'm completely uncomfortable. Just because you don't know what the heck I'm referring to doesn't mean it's not real. And they go, oh, no, it's just a chair. I'm like, no, it's not just a chair. I'm completely uncomfortable because of what I'm experiencing. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to fucking read your fucking thoughts. I don't want to see your frustrations. I don't want to see your lack mindsets. I don't want to see... I guess what? A lot of time it's sexual thoughts. Because they're lingering on people's abstractions, which I like. That the sexual energy. That's confidence, by the way. I like to experience that actually in everything. There's always a sexual connotation in things. It doesn't have to be perverted, by the way. I just mean sexual energy. Whether you literally are thinking of sex, that's a bit too perverted. But either way, that doesn't even need to mean that. It can just be sexual energy. We're all experiencing these sensory things when we look at people, people's faces even. We're experiencing it. But if it's too obvious, though, then I'm actually hearing your thoughts. And then it's weird. Do you get what I mean? Obviously, you're supposed to be able to look at someone. You know, you can look at someone and see if they're gay. Sometimes you can't, by the way. Obviously, there's that. Both of these are important. Whether you can tell, whether you can't tell. That is what we're supposed to experience in people. Like the misconception of not being able to tell, or not even thinking about it, or being able to tell. This is a very important part of just people experiencing each other. So if something makes me uncomfortable, I'm like, it's just because I'm not supposed to really know. Because guess what? You kind of sometimes can. Sometimes you can just look at someone and it's like, they're gay. You can just tell. Or you have to look at someone like, they are straight. And it starts becoming, I don't want to always just look at how it is for you. It will make me uncomfortable. And they go, oh, it's just a chair. And I'm like, no, fuck you. I'm like seeing your like lack mindset and what you like and how it is for you. I feel completely separate from this. And now I'm getting like sensory issues. The irony is that everything I own, I obviously handcraft a lot of things, because again, I like to be in my own abstraction, so that's why I handcraft things, because in my stitches I see my sexuality, I see myself. But the irony though is I don't have to constantly be looking at myself, because then even that makes me uncomfortable. If I'm always within myself, then the opposite becomes true. I start to actually become too self-aware. But the irony though is that this rarely happens. Usually by the time I've made something, it's a part of me that I made a while ago, because I keep changing. So I actually kind of like that I change over time. Each part of me is like a different part of me. So hear me out. If I handcrafted every single one of the things I own now, I actually would like that. But hear me out. That's not how it is. I obviously buy things. So obviously I experience things that other people experience. Secondhand stuff, I can feel the person who owned it, but I don't actually feel it. And I want to make this so clear. I still like to experience other people, but it's only because I'm not supposed to see it too clearly. It's only if I know someone personally do I start seeing something too clearly. And this usually only happens, by the way, I want to make it so clear. This is like a big part of this message. It only happens like too clear if someone didn't listen. If someone's listening to me, I'm talking even completely doing something the way that they are, like even a color that I don't like, but it's for them. I love experiencing this. Even if someone's like buying something, I love this. Even if someone did something for me and it wasn't to my taste, I wouldn't mind. Because I get to experience a different sensory, you know. If it was too associated with me, you know, when someone buys you clothing, you're like, oh, it's a good piece of clothing, but I don't want to wear it, you know. But either way, though, that's probably as bad as it gets, you know. Just like, oh, I just don't really want to wear it, you know. But if someone does something for me, even buying something for me, but they don't listen and they randomly change their mind, like, oh, I know you said you wanted this, but I changed my mind halfway. Or like, oh, I was painting this. I know you said for me to like not paint underneath, but then I just painted it underneath anyway. Do you realize what happens when this happens? If someone just painted something for me, I'm talking, again, their paint strokes, so meaning their person is within their paint strokes, I don't mind this. I don't mind this. I like this. Even if I know them personally. Yeah, I can see their abstractions, I can see their thoughts, but it's fine. It's only when they do something that I said no, and then they do it, that then I can all of a sudden start seeing stuff that I'm not supposed to see. Do you get what I'm saying? Again, sorry, I want to repeat this just to make sure that you're seeing it very clearly. I know I just explained that, but let me say it again. The only time that I start to see stuff that makes me uncomfortable when I go, I don't want to know. Like, I don't want to know. Or I don't want to know what you're thinking about. Don't want to know what you're, like, into, you know? Like, whether it's a sexual connotation, whether it's not sexual, I just don't want to fucking know your thoughts. It only happens when they don't listen to me. If it's been painted, even with every paint stroke, every single thing that someone has done, if it's just what they're doing, there's nothing wrong with that. Even if I can see your thoughts, it's always just things I'm supposed to know. And even if it's weird, it's usually interesting, you know. It's only when they do something that they're not listening to me. So I said, oh, don't paint underneath. Or like, oh, can you just leave that bit? And I'll come back to you later and tell you how I feel about that. I'm a bit confused. If they skip over something, go, oh, I just kind of rushed over that. Or I forgot about that. All of a sudden I start hearing things I'm not supposed to know. And then that's when I get uncomfortable. This is this is very specific detail I figured out. So whenever I go like, people go like, oh, you're spiritual and you can read people's thoughts. They kind of just go, okay. Or whether they believe in me or not, they kind of just go, what the fuck? But I'm like, it's not about that. Because again, remember, I only ever see the thoughts I'm supposed to see. It's never anything bad. It's only if someone doesn't listen to me that I see something I'm not supposed to know. It is only if something's fucking gross, like I fucking go, I don't want that, and they go, oh, well, last second I just changed my mind and gave it to you anyway. Then all of a sudden I start to hear stuff I'm not supposed to know. It's like it opens the gate up to something I didn't say yes to, and it's like, well, now I can just gonna start knowing and hearing things that I'm not supposed to fucking know. And they don't seem to, obviously they go, oh, I don't believe in that. I'm like, it's not about that though, because remember, it's always something I said no to. So I mean, it doesn't really matter spiritually, it's got to do with the information, voices, things I'm experiencing. But actually, just on a person, atheist level, all it is that you just didn't fucking listen to me when I said no. I said, I don't want you to paint underneath it. That alone is enough of a reason. Even if spiritually I'm like, well, here's the actual reason why. Let me tell you why. It's because I start knowing stuff I'm not supposed to know. Whether you believe in that or not, that is what happens. But either way, though, it's not even about that. Because guess what? Let's say you don't believe in that. Let's say you're a bit of an atheist, or you just go, I just don't believe in that. it doesn't really matter, because guess what? I said no, don't paint underneath it, and then you painted underneath it. Make it about paint then. I make it about spirituality, but you can make it just about the fact that you didn't listen to me. And this is like a thing, by the way, that girls talk about a lot. They're like, it doesn't even matter whether people know what happens. People go, oh, why not? And they go, you don't even need to know why. If I just said I don't want this, I don't want it. Because guess what? Sometimes I don't even know why. It's only if it happens that I will end up knowing. And that's what happened with me. I'm like, because of no one listening to me in my life, I end up knowing things that I'm not supposed to know. And obviously spiritually I can make it, so this video I can make it about, like, let me tell you information I can give you. Again, no ignorance for me. No ignorance is bliss. I don't have that. I've got knowledge. So I'm like, well, I can make it into knowledge. I can make a YouTube video. I can make it spiritual. But I'm like, but remember, the only reason why I'm spiritual is because I've been completely disrespected so fucking badly that I end up knowing things I'm not supposed to fucking know. And luckily, the spirituality, it turns it into information I should know. And my soul chooses to forget the stuff that I wasn't supposed to know. But I'm not kidding when I say I still do know. Even if I don't know, subconsciously, if I look at something, like right now I just looked at something that someone didn't listen to me, like, I was like, oh, make sure you don't do that. And they're like, oh, last second it was easier for me to just do that, so I just did it anyway. Do you realize what has been happening, like, the past 3 days, what has been happening to my mind because of that abstraction of them just not listening to me? And they, firstly, panic attack. I had a mini panic attack, which I struggle with, like, sieges, so it's kind of like, you can't really be like, oh, I just don't feel like it. I get sieges, so you can't really just be like, oh, you know, it's fine. No, it's not fine. I, like, couldn't sleep. Insomnia, couldn't sleep. People call it, oh, OCD, or you don't like an edge being overpainted. It's not about OCD. It completely fucks up my whole nervous system. Probably because of how badly no one has listened to me in my life, it ends up being a metaphor for who knows what it's about. It can be a metaphor for anything horrible. But if you just listen to me, the metaphors just naturally end up being fine. That's what's so stupid about it. It's like, literally, like, it doesn't even matter what goes on, whether I'm getting panic attacks. It's not even about that. I'm not supposed to be getting them in the first place. Just listen to what I fucking say. If I say don't do that, then just don't do it. If you do said thing I said no to, well, then I'll end up knowing why I don't want it. I don't need to know why I don't want something. I can just know that I don't want it. Now I know why. Fuck you. Like, what the fuck? And then guess what? It gives me, like, I literally end up, like, autistic. And that's what I mean by, like, that's why I talk about, like, sensory and stuff. Like, my autism, I truly believe, was built upon people just not fucking listening to me. And no one listening to me fucked up my nervous system so bad that I ended up with, like, autism. And I couldn't understand socialities and stuff because I was so far from the sensory seeking that I desired that socially, even the mind, everything was being pleased wrong. So, like, I was being associated with the wrong things. Colors, to the point of dissociation, that would also be the whole not having social skills. That's dissociation. I want to make it very clear. People who don't have social skills or, like, autism, there's many different metaphors, by the way. I'm just using the metaphor of, like, sensory issues. It isn't just as simple as, oh, it's just because they have sensory issues and then they'll have social skills, but it's literally just like, it depends. In my case, this is what I truly believe, because I don't believe I struggled that much with socialities, but I ended up struggling with them because of no one listening to me. And I ended up having no reference. There's no reference point if you've got nothing. Or shit, everything's an indecision. Everything was like an indecision. It was, I'm not sure. Or like, oh, I didn't want it to be that way, but they ended up being that way anyway. Or I said yes because I felt like I had to. Like, everything was that. There's no context. And then I ended up being awkward. Because there's no context to my existence. But as soon as I started doing things for myself, all of a sudden I started being able to fucking tell what was going on. Like, someone would say something and I was like, well, I disagree. I started talking, I started responding, not reacting. Just because I was listening to myself. And I made this very clear, by the way, that people would be like, oh, I can do this for you, and I started being like, no. Even if you can do it for me, you're not gonna fucking listen. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna cook this for you, yeah, but if I say, don't put this in it, last second, you're gonna do that thing where you go, oh, it's fine, I just thought last second that it would be fine. So I started being like, well, I'm just gonna say no to everyone. I mean this, by the way. I actively was like, I'm gonna say no to everyone. And guess what happened? I started to hear myself for the first time, and I was really just like, yeah, I should be able to say yes to people. I should be able to say yes. But they never listen to me, though. If I say yes, they decide what I've said yes to. And I'm like, no, that's not what I said yes to. I said yes to the food, not the thing I didn't want. I said yes to the bread, not yes to, or the dressing you put on it last second, even though I said I'm allergic to it. Fuck you. You're not listening. And they go, what, you asked for bread? I'm like, no, I'm talking about the fucking gravy that you put on that I said I'm allergic to. You know what I mean? That's an example, by the way. So that's why I started just saying no to everything, but then if I wanted bread, I would stand up and get it myself. So this obviously would be like OCD. I was obsessively, each and every single, down to the goddamn detail, I would do it myself. And it's obviously made me an artist. All of a sudden, every single little detail, everything I owned, I would like sell things, get rid of things, and only keep things that like, I want to make it very clear, artwork doesn't always have to mean actual artwork, because again, that's work. It doesn't always have to work or a piece. It can be art experience. What you can live within, like, artfully. So I'm talking about living artfully. I also did artwork. So whether I was just living artfully, as in like keeping things I desired, wanted to experience, and then getting rid of things I didn't want to, or making artwork to experience what I wanted. This sensory seeking made me see everything clearer in life. Like, it started being like, someone would be like, oh, what band do you listen to? And I was like, like, so it'd be like, oh, do you listen to this? I'll be like, actually, I don't. Not even feeling the need to be like, oh, I'm cool. Yes, I do. Of course I do. Instead, it was like, actually, no, I don't. And I didn't understand it at the time, that this was got to do with, how people trying to be cool. It's a, there's a thing in the alternative scene where things are too focused on toxic masculine. The irony is that that's the expression. Everyone is expressing what would be considered like socially, or a bad person or a rebel. Alternative is about like embracing this, but there's still a side to it though that leans too much on toxic masculine, and this is where you get people trying to be like, oh, I'm cool, whatever, I don't care. But it starts becoming, now that's not expressive anymore, because alternative is about expressing yourself. So being obsessed with, oh, I'm cool, I would never wear a color, I would never wear pink. It starts becoming, actually, now that's lame. Do you get what I mean? Anyway, I didn't understand this. I didn't understand sexism. I didn't get how any of that worked. I didn't know what pick me. I didn't know what any of that meant. But through my perspective of just listening to myself, it naturally translated into, I just don't know how to describe it, but I don't mind saying, no, I don't. They'll be like, oh, do you listen to this band? And I'll be like, no, I don't. And they'll be like, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say that you like it. And I'm like, well, I don't. And then they're like, so you don't like this really cool band, but you're cool, aren't you? And I'm like, maybe I'm not as cool as you think. And then I was chaotic and dead inside. But either way, though, I was conscious. But I'm not going to say I was a little cringe, though. I started just being like, I don't give a damn. But then I started to dehumanize myself by deliberately liking bands that other people didn't like, to pay myself out, because I had, like, repressed self-hatred. Anyway, turned into something else. Anyway, but either way, though, it actually began on a very positive note. I was being honest for once. And I was really just like, it's just because I'm conscious. And it's translated into everything in my life. I'm just like, no. It's just a no now. No. The irony is, though, it was OCD. But either way, though, I'm not shocked that I was that fucked up and had OCD and had repressed self-hatred. No one had listened to me from day one. Anyway, so you see how important it is to just be in sensory seeking? You naturally just are experiencing reality more. Even like picky eaters, I'm like, they're probably not that picky. They just need to fucking know what they're choosing to eat. And because when it comes to culture, I say to experience those foods, it's about that whole experience. So it's almost like, how could you be a picky eater if there's all this food on the table, you know? But it's like, the reason why that's still disrespectful is because they actually, what if I were to tell you, someone who's a picky eater, they actually want to experience culture more. It looks like, oh, they don't want it. No, it doesn't mean that. It means they want it even more. So for instance, let's say you're eating like Japanese. The rice, the plainness of white rice, you can begin there and then go to the next meal. You know how like you can kind of build your palate through the plainness? Obviously, some people go, oh, especially if they're already in that culture, they go, oh, you just have it on the side. But it's like, that's because you're already within that culture. Someone who's almost in discovery of like, all of that just looks like things I'm unfamiliar with. They want to begin with the simplicity. So if someone's a picky eater, it doesn't mean, oh, they just want bread and butter, or they just want to eat the rice and not eat anything else. It's like, no, they're just beginning their palate. They need to like clear their palate. And they might, for actually a very long time, be kind of childish, only having the avocado and the cucumber sushi and then having rice, and then if they're white, they'll have like bread and butter. But it's because they begin there to clear their palate, and then they would choose to dip it into other things, and then they would experience the culture. It's like they're just like blank slate. They want to experience the culture from the beginning. And I mean that. Anyone with like OCD or like or who calls themselves autistic, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, no, I want more from it. People get offended and go, they think you don't like stuff, and it's like, no, I want to experience it properly. Like if I'm eating food, I want to like build the taste, which means beginning very plain. And it does mean I'm like scared to dip my bread into anything, but like hear me out. It's like about that because I'm literally I have to like it's like I'm practicing intuition almost. Anyway, so it's like you don't know like food. You might be shocked at what it represents. It's not just homie, everyone gets along and everyone eats food together. That's great, but it's not always that. That's not always why people come to Earth. Some people are trying to figure something out. They're coming over to. But with that said, as soon as they figure it out, they'll probably go back to being homie. Because to be honest, they probably are hyper vigilant anyway. But either way, it's not really healthy to be using intuition when you're eating food. Like just eat the food you should just be able to eat anything and enjoy it, really. But either way, you have to be healthy, though. And if you're not healthy, you have tunnel vision. That's just how it is. Anyway,